Most people think the first big step toward wealth is hitting six figures. They're wrong. According to biblical wisdom, the real transformation begins much earlier. The moment you save your first dollar, 10K. That's the point where your money stops controlling you, and you start stewarding it with purpose. It's not just about having a cushion in the bank, it's about proving to yourself and before God that you can be faithful with little so He can trust you with more. Luke 16:10. Now, this might sound counterintuitive. After all, $10K isn't buying you a house, retiring you early, or sending you on luxury vacations. But spiritually and strategically, it changes everything. Your mindset, your opportunities, your ability to make money without fear. It's the moment you stop living paycheck to paycheck and start living with vision. If you like our content, consider supporting our ministry through the link in the description. In this video, we'll walk through why that first $10K is so much more than a number. It's a turning point. And if you apply the principles we'll discuss, you'll see why this milestone has the power to set the trajectory for the rest of your financial life, and even impact the kingdom in ways you never imagined. The spiritual and strategic value of your first $10K. For many, $10K might seem like just a number on a bank statement, but in biblical terms, it's far more than that. It represents a shift from surviving to stewarding. In Scripture, small beginnings are not to be despised, Zechariah 4:10, and your first $10K is proof that faithfulness in little can lead to being entrusted with more. This milestone isn't just about money. It's about proving to yourself and before God that you can manage what He places in your hands with wisdom and discipline. When you reach $10K saved, you move from a position of constant reaction to one of intentional action. Suddenly, you're not scrambling when a bill arrives or a crisis hits. Instead, you have the means to respond from a place of strength. Think of Joseph in Egypt. Because of years of faithful preparation, he could feed nations in a time of famine. Genesis 41:56. Your $10K becomes your storehouse, ready for both emergencies and divine opportunities. From a strategic standpoint, this amount builds confidence like nothing else. It tells you, if I could reach this, I can reach higher. That inner certainty fuels your next steps in business, investments, and personal growth. And in a world where many chase quick ways to make money, hitting $10K the right way, through diligence, patience, and wise choices, sets you apart from the crowd. It's also at this point that money starts working for you, even if only in small ways. Whether it's interest from a high-yield savings account or modest investment returns, you begin to see the principle of sowing and reaping in action. And as Galatians 6:9 reminds us, in due season we shall reap, if we do not give up. Your $10K is the seed for greater harvests. Spiritually, this milestone tests where your trust lies. Will you see it as a cushion to indulge in comfort or as a resource to advance God's purposes? The parable of the talents, Matthew 25:14-30, makes it clear. What you do with what you have determines whether more will be entrusted to you. $10K is not the finish line. It's the proving ground. And here's the quiet truth few talk about. The person you become while saving your first $10K matters far more than the money itself. Because once you've built that discipline, the jump to your next goal, whether $50K, $100K, or beyond, is no longer a dream, but an inevitable outcome of the person God is shaping you to be. The discipline God builds in the process. Discipline is the bridge between desire and destiny, and your first $10K is built on that bridge. You don't stumble into this milestone by accident. It's the result of daily choices, delayed gratification, and a refusal to let short-term comfort rob you of long-term blessing. Proverbs 21:5 says, "The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance." And it's in the grind of saving that God shapes the kind of person who can be trusted with more. Along the way, you learn to tell yourself no in the moment, so you can say yes to bigger things later. That might mean cooking at home instead of eating out, driving a reliable used car instead of financing a new one, or resisting the urge to upgrade your lifestyle every time you make more money. These choices don't just grow your bank account, they grow your character. God also uses this season to reveal your financial weaknesses. Maybe you're tempted to splurge when stressed, or you've been careless with small expenses that add up. Saving $10K forces you to confront these patterns and replace them with habits that align with stewardship. In the same way, David prepared in the pasture before stepping into the palace. You're preparing now for greater responsibility. It's also a period of intentional focus. You start tracking your spending, setting budgets, and identifying what's truly important. Apps and tools become your allies. but so does prayer. Asking God for wisdom before making big purchases, for discernment in business decisions, and for clarity and opportunities to make money without compromising your values. And perhaps the most overlooked benefit, consistency becomes second nature. Once you've proven to yourself that you can consistently save, invest, and plan, you stop relying on bursts of motivation. It's no longer about hype, it's about habits. This is the kind of discipline that carries over into every area of life, from your work ethic to your relationships. By the time you hit that first $10K, you've done more than accumulate numbers in an account. You've developed the mindset and self-control to protect and multiply whatever God puts in your hands next. Freedom to choose, not just react. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, life feels like a series of reactions. The car breaks down, the bill is higher than expected, a friend invites you somewhere and you have to say no because the money just isn't there. But with your first $10K saved, you gain something far more valuable than just a financial cushion, the power to choose. Proverbs 22:7 warns that the borrower is slave to the lender, and reaching this point means you've loosened those chains. This freedom changes the way you make decisions. You're no longer forced to stay in a job you hate because you can't afford to leave. You can take a short sabbatical to recharge or study without the crushing fear of losing everything. You can say yes to an opportunity that might take time to pay off, whether that's starting a small business, partnering in a ministry, or pursuing a certification that will help you make money in the long term. It also shifts the conversations you have with yourself. Instead of "can I afford this?" the better question becomes, does this align with my purpose? That's a kingdom mindset. When Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians 10:31 to do all to the glory of God, it included the way we manage our resources. Your financial margin allows you to align spending and investments with your calling, not just your survival. From a practical standpoint, this freedom means you can start negotiating life on your terms. Need to move to a different city for a better opportunity? You can afford the relocation costs. Want to take a mission trip? You can buy the ticket without swiping a credit card. Want to explore new income streams? You can invest in the tools and mentorship you need without derailing your stability. Emotionally, this shift brings peace. There's less panic when the unexpected happens, and more confidence when stepping into the unknown. This is not the reckless boldness of someone with nothing to lose. It's the calculated courage of someone who is prepared for the journey ahead. And here's where the excitement builds. When you combine this freedom with the discipline you've already developed, the path to multiplying your resources and reaching the next financial milestone becomes clearer and far more achievable. Protection against emergencies and missed opportunities. One of the most underrated blessings of your first $10K is how it shields you from life's sudden storms. Emergencies no longer have the power to knock you completely off track. Proverbs 6:8 praises the ant for storing up in summer to prepare for winter, and your $10K serves that same purpose. It's your buffer against the unexpected. When your car breaks down, you can fix it without going into debt. If a medical bill arrives, you can pay it without juggling which expense to delay. If your job ends suddenly, you have breathing room to find the right next step instead of grabbing the first thing that comes along. This isn't just financial protection, it's mental and spiritual stability in moments when others might be in panic mode. But protection is only half the story. That same $10K also positions you to seize opportunities others can't. Maybe a business investment comes up with a trusted partner, or a discounted property is available for a quick close. Because you've prepared, you can move decisively while others are scrambling to pull funds together. Ecclesiastes 11:2 advises diversifying investments, and having capital ready allows you to act when those doors open. Opportunities aren't always financial either. It might be a chance to support a mission trip, attend a life-changing conference, or fund a ministry project that aligns with your heart. Too many people have to pass on such moments simply because they're unprepared. Your $10K turns "I wish I could" into "I'm glad I did." This level of readiness also transforms the way others see you. People trust those who are prepared. When friends, partners, or ministry leaders know you can commit without hesitation, they begin to invite you into more significant ventures. It's not just about having money, it's about being seen as dependable. And once you experience the peace of being protected while staying open to possibility, you start to realize that the next step isn't just about saving more. It's about learning how to multiply what you have so that your impact and influence grow. The foundation to multiply, the parable of the talents. Your first $10K is not just a safety net, it's seed capital. In Matthew 25:14-30, Jesus tells the parable of the talents, where servants are entrusted with different amounts and expected to multiply them. The servant who buried his coin out of fear gained nothing, while the ones who invested and doubled their share were rewarded. Likewise, your $10K is a starting point for multiplication, not a finish line. At this stage, you can begin putting your money to work in ways that build more wealth. That might mean opening an investment account, buying dividend-paying stocks, or starting a side business that produces steady cash flow. Even a small 8% annual return on $10K is a tangible step toward the biblical principle of sowing and reaping. The key is to invest in areas you understand and that align with your values. With this foundation, you can also begin to diversify. Ecclesiastes 11:2 advises to divide your portion to 7 or even to 8, meaning spread your resources so no single failure wipes you out. For example, you could place some funds in a high-yield savings account, some in the stock market, and some in skills training that increases your earning potential. This isn't chasing trends. It's building a structure that can weather storms. And don't overlook the importance of reinvesting returns. The habit of taking profit and planting it again compounds over time. Think of a farmer who doesn't eat all his harvest, but saves seed for the next planting. This mindset, applied to business or investments, accelerates growth in a way that simple saving never could. Spiritually, multiplying resources also opens doors for greater generosity. Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians 9:11 that, "You will be enriched in every way to be generous on every occasion." The more you grow your $10K, the more you can bless others without jeopardizing your own stability. That's kingdom economics at work. Once you understand that $10K can become $20K and $20K can become $50K, you start to see wealth building not as an impossible dream, but as a process guided by principles God has already laid out. And this process begins breaking the very cycle that traps so many in a paycheck-to-paycheck life. Breaking the cycle of living. Paycheck to paycheck. For many, the greatest struggle isn't low income, it's the cycle of constantly running out before the month ends. This cycle creates stress, limits choices, and often leads to debt. But when you've built your first $10K, you've broken the pattern. You're no longer living in financial survival mode. Proverbs 13:11 reminds us, "Whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow." And that's exactly what's happened to you. The psychological shift here is massive. You no longer think in terms of, how do I make it to Friday? Instead, you start asking, how do I grow what I already have? That mental freedom opens the door to strategic planning, better business opportunities, and ways to make money that don't depend solely on trading time for dollars. Breaking the cycle also means you stop making desperate financial decisions. You're not rushing into bad loans, payday advances, or high-interest credit cards just to cover basics. Instead, you're paying bills on time, avoiding late fees, and even catching discounts for early payments. Over time, these small wins snowball into significant progress. With the cycle broken, you can also redirect energy toward learning and growth. You might take a course on investing, shadow a mentor, or study biblical financial principles more deeply. Suddenly, there's room in your schedule and budget to improve yourself because you're not drowning in financial emergencies. And this shift doesn't just benefit you. Families feel the difference when money stress eases. Relationships improve, health improves, and even your walk with God deepens when you're not constantly weighed down by financial anxiety. It's easier to hear God's direction when the noise of money worries fades. But here's the thing. Breaking the cycle is only the first step toward building a legacy. The question now becomes, with this new freedom, how will you direct it toward your long-term vision, ensuring your $10K is just the foundation for something far greater? Long-term vision and the next step. Reaching your first $10K isn't the end of the journey, it's the launch pad. Proverbs 29:18 says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." And the same is true in your finances. Without a clear picture of where you want to go next, your $10K could slowly drift away on unplanned expenses. The goal now is to set your sights on the next milestone with intentionality and faith. This is where you start building a roadmap. Will your focus be to reach $50K, $100K, or more? How will you invest, and what skills will you sharpen to make money more efficiently? A written plan, paired with prayerful direction, ensures that your decisions align with God's calling for your life and business. You're no longer just avoiding mistakes, you're moving toward purpose. It's also time to refine your portfolio. What worked to get you to $10K may not be what gets you to $100K. Diversification, strategic risk-taking, and reinvestment will play a bigger role now. Think of the biblical principle in Luke 14:28. Count the cost before you build. Each financial decision should be evaluated in the context of your long-term mission. And don't forget to protect your progress. This might mean increasing your emergency fund, upgrading your insurance, or setting boundaries on lifestyle inflation. Many lose momentum by spending too freely the moment they feel comfortable. Your vision should guide your spending, not the other way around. At this stage, mentorship becomes even more important. Surround yourself with those who are further ahead in the journey, both spiritually and financially. Their experience can help you avoid pitfalls and stay focused on multiplying your resources for kingdom impact. Because here's the truth. If you can be faithful with $10K, you're proving to God and to yourself that you can be faithful with much more. The journey ahead holds even greater opportunities, and how you step into them will determine not just your wealth, but the legacy you leave behind. Turning your $10K into kingdom impact. Reaching $10K is an incredible achievement, but the true test of stewardship is what you do next. In Acts 20:35, Paul reminds us of Jesus' words, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." This doesn't mean giving recklessly or draining your savings, but it does mean intentionally allocating a portion of your resources to causes that align with God's mission. Your $10K can be the seed that not only grows your wealth, but also advances the kingdom in tangible ways. At this stage, you can begin setting aside a kingdom fund, a specific percentage of your returns or income that is dedicated to generosity. This could mean supporting missionaries, funding community projects, or helping someone start a small business that transforms their life. When you invest in people in God's work, the return isn't just financial, it's eternal. Using part of your $10K to make money and part to make an impact creates a powerful balance. Imagine putting $1,000 into an investment that generates passive income and another $500 into training a young entrepreneur in your church. One builds your financial base, the other builds someone's future. This is wealth with purpose, and kingdom impact doesn't always require massive amounts. Even a small grant to a ministry in need can be the bridge to a breakthrough. Just as the widow's 2 coins in Mark 12:44 were more valuable in God's eyes than the large sums of the wealthy, your intentional giving carries weight far beyond its dollar amount. The more you grow your $10K, the more options you have to make this impact scalable. Over time, your investments can fund scholarships, plant churches, or provide ongoing support to causes that matter deeply to you. And as your influence grows, so does your capacity to inspire others to join you in this mission. Ultimately, turning your $10K into kingdom impact changes the conversation from how much can I make to how much good can I do? And that's a mindset shift that will guide every financial decision you make from here forward. By now, you can see your first $10K is far more than a savings goal. It's a spiritual milestone, a statement of discipline, and a platform for future impact. It proves you can master the basics, break free from the paycheck-to-paycheck grind, and position yourself for kingdom through opportunities most people never even see. Write in the comments, "I am ready to steward my first $10K God's way," and watch how this powerful declaration begins to shift the course of your business and your finances from this day forward. So the question is, will you let this knowledge sit in your mind, or will you act on it? Will you take the steps to protect, grow, and multiply what God has already entrusted to you? Because if He can trust you with $10K, He can trust you with so much more. If this message spoke to you, consider supporting our ministry through the link in the description, subscribing to the channel, and turning on notifications so you can keep learning how to align your money and your mission. Your next milestone is waiting, and the journey starts now.